Welcome to episode 3 of the Skate More Surf More podcast, talking skating, surfing and more. This week's episode is with Cornish legend Josh Daniel, surfer, coach and co-owner of Smooth Movers from Cornwall UK. I met Josh when he was working as a surf coach in Sri Lanka almost 4 years ago, and in this conversation we cover a wide range of topics including growing up in Cornwall, gender equality in surfing, building a business and how Josh has survived in quarantine. Josh is a jovial, friendly and immediately easy person to get on with, but I found his relaxed attitude definitely doesn't stop him from paying attention to the world around him and forming knowledgeable ideas about his life and the world we live in. I enjoyed chatting to him and I hope you enjoy our conversation. So I bring you my conversation with Josh, who is currently stuck somewhere in New Zealand.
Yeah, so I'm in Redcliffs, which is like near Sumner, which is a suburb of Christchurch, right on the beach. It's wonderful. It actually reminds me of where I'm from in Cornwall quite a lot. Down in Hale, it's a very similar sort of coastal town vibe, but obviously you've got the city there. I've got a lovely, splendid group of mates over here that run something called the Single Fin Mingle, which is an invitational single fin longboarding contest and a big party and all the good stuff just combined into one weekend. I came over 4 years ago now, which is crazy, and I've been kind of promising to come back ever since, and actually got around to coming this year, and still here. And then obviously the apocalypse struck pretty quickly. I'm still here.
So did they actually manage to run the contest and everything? You got there in time?
Nah, unfortunately, I got here in time I got in well before any sort of quarantining restrictions were put in place and all that kind of thing. But obviously things escalated so quickly they had to call the contest off. But it's cool. We ended up going up the coast and getting some really good waves. It's a pretty unsecret right-hand point break, which will remain nameless. And then came back down to town and had a good couple of beers over the weekend, 10 pints and a sit-down meal. I think was the theme. And it was good bunch of people, but it was a shame. Obviously the guys didn't get to run the event because these things take quite a lot of planning and that.
Yeah, definitely. It's a bit of a bummer when we did that a couple of years ago. Me and my friend, we've got kind of like a book club basically where we review books online and match them to travel locations.
Yeah,
it's very much it's such a side project that we don't get much time on it. But there's the Byron Bay Surf Festival, and we're like, oh, let's get a stand. Like, we've got a couple of t-shirts made. We can sell some books and just like be cool to chat to people about books and traveling. We're like signed up, paid all the stuff, got the insurance and everything. And then it just got rained off, and like the most torrential rain ever for like 2 days.
Oh no.
Great. Like we've got nothing to do now. Like we've lost all of that, but like we're not a big enough brand to then do anything. We're like, hey, we just sell it online. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that does suck. But I guess these guys over the Single Fin Mingle's pretty established. It's been running for 6 years now, I think. So they've got a really good like core following and a good brand going, and it's a fucking sick event actually. So that they're actually planning on maybe running it in like the middle of winter in July or something like that, if restrictions lift in time, or if not, they'll be back bigger and better than ever next year, and I'll just have to come back again, which is definitely not the worst thing in the world. But it's quite classic timing, really. It takes me 4 years to come back, and then the world ends in due course.
There. Exactly. You might still be there in time for it to run. You might not have been able to leave.
Well, that's it. You never know. There's flights are just that. The only flights out are like $3,000 at the moment, £1,500, and that's just like in whatever planet you're living on. That's pretty extortionate, isn't it? Not sure if that's a wise decision.
And then you'd get home and have to isolate. And are beaches open for surfing in the UK?
I don't think you're meant to, but I think people that are experienced and live near the beach are probably taking advantage of the beautiful Easter weather I believe they've been having back in the UK right now.
Yeah, for sure. So whereabouts are you from in the UK?
I'm from Cornwall, which is right down in the southwest. I'm from almost as far down in the southwest as you can go. A town called Hale. We surf at a beach called Cadreevy, which is, I believe, been popularly voted one of the best beaches in the world. Quite many years on the trot. But yeah, it's a wonderful, it's a really, really beautiful part of the world. Lovely place to grow up. We get some very, very consistent waves from time to time, some very inconsistent waves for the rest of the time. But yeah, it's a cool spot.
Is winter the kind of go for good waves for you guys?
It tends to be like, actually Easter has historically been really good this time of year now, because you still get those winter swells. But I think September, October is the time, because you start to get the autumnal swells, but the sea's actually still quite warm. You know, you can wear a 3-2 like if you've got thick skin all the way to the end of like October basically, and not really notice it. So it's that's the time to be in the southwest is September, October.
But then when do you get back into the 3-2 from like a 5-3? Is it like June?
Literally like June most of the time, end of May, beginning of June, I think. So you only get that like June, July, August, September, kind of, I guess, 4 or 5 months of glory. But it'd still be really cold. It would still be cold at the moment, especially if you're coming from like somewhere a little bit hotter.
Exactly.
Cold on the feet.
Yeah, I used to holiday down at St Ives.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so that's just across the bay from us. Yeah. That's everybody. You know, that's where we go for a few beers on a Saturday night. Where are you from again in the
UK? Guildford originally. Guildford, so Surrey.
Right. Yeah,
like an hour south of London. So we'd go to holiday in Cornwall, but I didn't surf or anything. Like we had a mini mal. I think my dad bought a mini mal for a couple of years that we mess around on, but didn't do anything but catch whitewater, and I was pretty scared of the ocean.
I still am, mate. It's a dangerous beast.
I was going to ask you how you pronounce that Godrevy? Is that the beach?
Godrevy.
Godrevy.
Godrevy. Yeah, that's right.
Godrevy. Yeah, because I noticed that's where the smooth movers stuff is sort of named.
That's right. Yeah. So Smooth Movers is an invitational single fin longboarding event, kind of like in the same style as the Duck Capes that me and my dear friend Jack Mander, a chap from Cornwall, run. And it's all about celebrating traditional surfing in the UK. There's some of the best single fin longboarders in the world are based down in Cornwall, and travel the world from there. And it's we just felt like it was time to sort of build something cool around that, and obviously getting inspired by these events over here like the single fin mingle and that kind of thing. It definitely felt like something that Cornwall, particularly Godrevy, would benefit massively from. So I think we try and make it very much a community-based thing, something that the local surf community can get involved in, as well as trying to have some really elite level surfers. We've had like guys like Sam Cruikshanks, who won the Noosa Festival of Surfing a few years back, come over. He's a Cornish boy originally, so I guess that's not too remarkable, but he definitely rips. It's all about sort of having those really elite, world-class surfers on the same stage as the local talent, and getting in amongst it and drinking a few beers more than anything, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, is there much, or before what you guys started, was there much going on as far as events, or is board riders clubs a thing in England or not?
Not, they are, but not in the same way that they are in the Pacific regions or wherever we are, Australasian regions of the world. So there's always been a really good like core single fin longboarding scene, or there has been for the last 10-15 years, I'd say. Really very high, what's the word I'm looking for, high quality selection of good single fin longboarders. You've got guys like Sam Bleakley, who I guess set the stage for this kind of thing, like all the way back 15 years ago. You've got guys like James Parry and Mike Lay, who kind of, I guess, took the baton from there. And James, who I just mentioned, ran a similar event which he called the Hip Wigglers, which was the same idea around about 7-8 years ago. And I think that really sparked a massive resurgence in single fin longboarding within Cornwall particularly. And you started to see the quality of surfers escalate quite rapidly, and more people sort of getting involved. And James is a busy man, and unfortunately that kind of died out. And then me and Jack, sort of obviously getting inspired by what's happening over here, and looking back on that, just felt like it was time to get the ball rolling again and see what we can do. And the other thing is, I think funnily enough, Godrevy gets overlooked as a quality surf spot quite a lot back at home, and it was about bringing a little bit of attention to how much of a really quite quality place it is to hang out and spend a day down at the beach, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Did you do many competitions growing up? I mean, when did you start surfing?
I guess, quite young. My dad taught me when I was probably 10, 11 or something like that. And yeah, I did some. I was never very good. My little brother was always a lot better. He was in the British team and stuff, which is probably why I started longboarding in the first place, just to be good at something different. But no, I think, the competitive element is second to having a really, I guess, being involved in something a little bit bigger. There is a very strong competitive element to smooth movers. We've people definitely come down with the idea of, or hopefully come down with the idea of winning. It is a competition, but it's definitely superseded by the fact that everybody's getting together and celebrating traditional longboarding more so than coming there to walk away with what's usually quite a ramshackle trophy. And obviously the obvious glory that goes hand in hand with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. It definitely, I've watched a couple of the event sort of highlights, I guess, on your Instagram page.
Yeah.
It looked like good fun. I definitely like the look of some of those trophies. Were they like spray painted gold?
Yeah, that's right. So there's we've got a really eclectic group of individuals that come together to make this thing special. And the chap that makes the trophies is a guy called Chris Ryan. He's a bit of a local legend, and he's done everything from like camped in Costa Rica in the 80s for 3 months to he's got an old single-seater aeroplane in the garden of his house, which he's turned into a bed. So if you go around and stay there, you either get the choice of sleeping in a double-decker bus or an aeroplane, I believe. He's a very eclectic and original guy. It's absolutely crackers. But year one, we were thinking like, sugar, who's a handyman and can like put us together something cool for a trophy. And then Chris obviously came to mind quite quickly. So for the first year, he made something out of 2 horseshoes, an old motorcycle exhaust, and a mirror on the top, and you like grasp this thing by the horseshoes, and it's like a trophy to hold up. Yeah. So that's called the Cup to Smooth, and goes to the smoothest mover of the weekend. What did he make? The second year, I think he may have been a little bit stuck for time. So I said, Chris, can you do this again? He said, of course, no problem. I'll drop it around in a couple of days. So he turns up at my house with an old Land Rover door, which with Smooth Movers winner or Smoothest Mover 2019 spray painted on the side, which was fucking entertaining. And we had a guy called Jake Gould, a bit of a legend from Noosa, come over, and just absolutely, this is quite a good story, like quite a good segue into a story in itself. We met Jake in Portugal at another really cool single fin longboarding event called Gliding Barnacles, run by a very smooth bunch of Portuguese lads. And Jake seemed, getting on very well with this guy Jake. He liked to drink a beer and he liked to party, but we didn't see him get in the sea once. We just thought, this guy would be a fun guy to have around at Smooth Movers. We should definitely get him over. So you're like, you got to come, man. He's like, sweet, yeah, I love a party. He's like, can I surf? And we were a bit like, oof, well, yeah, you can go in the twin fin division, I guess, but like it's kind of for like elite level surfers, because we always try and keep the quality high, to exhibit the best talent, not to be elitist in any way. And we were like, oh, fuck, all right, well, look, I guess he's a legend, we can give him a spot. And he turned up in a shorty wetsuit, and it was fucking freezing, like windy and rainy, with this beaten up old 20. And we were like, oh, no, like, why did we even bother? We should have just given him like a 6-pack. And he got in the water, first wave, like landed a full row to air reverse. And we were like, oh, okay, Jake can surf. Fuck, that's wonderful.
That's so good.
On this barnstorming day, and ended up winning the twin fin division, and we had to give him the Cup to Smooth for being the smoothest mover, because it was just such an exhibition of defying expectations, amongst other things. And anyway, so we presented him with this Land Rover door at the end of, this is in the second year, at the end of year 2, and obviously he could never take it home, so it's in my old bedroom at mum and dad's in Cornwall, still waiting for him to pick it up.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So you'll do 2 divisions of longboard and fish?
Yeah, we do. We call it the battered fish, the log division, and we have what's the word I'm looking for, an expression session as well, which is just aimed at raising a little bit of money for charity. We didn't actually have time to run that this year, but this year we also had a ladies division as well, which was a top to bottom success, and we channeled 50% of the prize funds into that. It was won by a wonderful young lady called Emily Curry, who is, regardless of gender, is one of the best single fin surfers in the country without a doubt. And yeah, she just ripped from the first heat to the finals. She won herself a really lovely custom made fish by Boss Surfboards, who are a really phenomenal local surfboard brand. And
yeah.
we were all a little bit tired and had a couple of beers by the time we got to the prize giving, and actually forgot to give her the fish and had to call her back on stage for that.
I saw that. I watched that yesterday on the highlights on the Instagram thing. I was watching through it, and like she wanders off, and this was like, Josh, the surfboard. Yeah, surfboard.
It was all a bit overwhelming by that time. It was a really long day, but yeah, no. So that was really good. But yeah, that was a big So we've done 3 years now. That was a massive focus of the third year, was to really put an emphasis on the kind of female longboarding scene, and making sure the ladies had an equal and an equal stage to perform upon, if you like, and the opportunity to sort of exhibit where they were at. We've always kind of taken the opinion that we didn't want to split this thing in terms of gender, because like, most everybody, regardless of gender, these people rip, and it always seemed quite logical to just get everybody in the sea together. But I think there comes a point where you really got to but perhaps people don't feel comfortable or whatever, and you really got to I guess make an effort to do the best thing possible to promote gender diversity. And so yeah, we perhaps 2 years too late, obviously, held the women's division. It was a utterly thorough success, and yeah, definitely we'll be coming back next year with a vengeance.
Yeah, I mean, what's the kind of percentage of women surfing down there in that sort of area?
I think that it's definitely a male-dominated sport in Cornwall, but I think single fin longboarding as a sport is particularly conducive to graceful movements that women tend to be endowed with more often than men. So yeah. I think it's it's definitely it's definitely a sport where it is a completely level playing field regardless of gender. There are no common male or female attributes that would make one gender better than the other. So I think that's really cool. And that's, as I say, that was kind of the ethos we'd always taken in terms of just having an open division and wanting to present a completely level playing field. But yeah, I think in terms of like making sure that getting the event to a point where we've got a 50-50 split of men and women competing, which would be a point where we could go back in terms of just having an open competition, in terms of promoting that and encouraging more women to take part. That's obviously the reason to create a separate division to make that happen. But as I say, I'm a firm believer that I'd love to see it in a place where it was all just one mixed playing field and a complete 50-50 split. So that's sort of what we're aiming for, and hopefully we can promote that enough over the next couple of years. I've mentioned Emily again. You've got such phenomenal surfers like her, sort of paving the way for women's traditional longboarding and just traditional longboarding in the UK. It's only going to go in the right direction, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of the same with skateboarding as well. It's just like, it's almost like every year there are so many more women getting into it each year, like, and especially young girls are really getting into skateboarding, and it's so cool to see, and like so wild how good phenomenal. They are.
Yeah, exactly. It's cool. I think surfers have tended to be, or surfing as a sport has tended to be pretty forward thinking in terms of where it lies as from a, what's the word I'm looking for, an ideological sort of point of view. Surfers tend to be pretty switched on and very culturally aware, if you want. I guess that's probably not the word I'm looking for, but you get the angle I'm coming at. And I think it's really important that we continue to promote that with events such as this, and make sure that we present we position ourselves at the forefront of equality, be that based on gender, religion, whatever it may be. I think that's definitely a big thing.
And so, do you ever compete in your own events? Do you get to put
No, I don't.
Wild card to the finals
behind that. Yeah, well, exactly. I think I think the first and foremost, I'd just be too scared of getting knocked out first round and completely getting my ass completely handed to me. But it's always surprises me how much time even organising a relatively small event takes. I think we had about 250 people down on the beach spectating all day. We had food and music and stalls and all that kind of thing. And we had upwards of about 50 surfers across all three divisions. And in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot of people, but between sort of three or four main organisers, and myself, Jack, and a couple of other people, it's quite a lot of logistics to take care of. So that's the other reason. Often there's just not enough time. I kind of like the month before, it's sort of running from A to B to C to D to all the way to Z, just to kind of tick boxes and get stuff done, as well as trying to work a regular job. But that's just a big cover up for being scared to get knocked out.
Exactly. That's all right. Do the same thing. Did you have much experience of setting up events, running events, or anything before you guys started doing this?
Nah, none actually. It was just we were just like, yeah, we should do this. And Jack was like, yeah, that's cool. I think that's a good idea. So we sort of got the ball rolling. We're really lucky to be mates with some guys based in France, a distribution and marketing agency called Wasted Talent, who you might have heard of. But they distribute the Critical Slide Society in Europe, and they got fully behind. They're fully behind the event. Have been since day one, and they gave us a lot of help and guidance, I guess. It was for the first year where we were sort of finding our feet, but it's quite a natural thing. I think we're not trying to, I think the difference is if you're running something to generate a lot of revenue, I think people tend to be less inclined to sort of to help out and give you a bit of leeway. But when you're trying to, we're generally trying to do something to benefit other people, and it sort of seems to have quite a natural, good collateral effect,
Yeah, I think there is a difference in trying to get people involved in something when it is more about just an idea and an event, or a sort of like a good experience and a community-based thing, as opposed to, like you said, got this great new money-making idea, like, do you want to get behind it? We're going to charge this, and
yeah, exactly. And I'm not necessarily saying either of those is a good or bad thing, because I think it's people are quite right to want to make money out of doing events. It's a lot of bloody hard work, and the moment you start kind of financialize something, it definitely becomes more difficult. But for us, it was sort of quite natural, just because we were sort of, I think people, it's quite a streamlined operation now, but people are probably sort of laughing and just chipping in the right places to start with, just to get the ball rolling,
Yeah. So do you charge entry fees or anything? Like, do you try and like break even on it, or is it just like...
Yeah, we just try and break even. We're really lucky to get sponsorship off TCSS and a local brewery called Sharps, and their offshore Pilsner beer, which is splendid, might I add. So we're really lucky that those guys are on board to make it financially viable, because otherwise it wouldn't be. We charged a small fee for the surface this year. I think it was like a tenner, 15 quid or something, but that gets them 3 meals, beers, entry to the after party, and breakfast the day after as well. So it's
far out. That's just cheaper than eating in Cornwall, isn't it?
Cheaper than staying at home for the weekend.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so good. What have you found is like the biggest thing you've learned from starting the festivals?
Oh, that's a good question. Nothing ever goes to plan.
Yeah.
Adapt, and there are no problems, only solutions. That kind of attitude is definitely integral to running an event, for sure. There's just nothing. You can only plan so well, I think, is the bottom line. Obviously, like you've got to be pretty well organized, and the logistics have got to be tight, but stuff just goes wrong, and that's cool. It kind of makes it, and you learn every year. I guess in terms of practicality, if you were thinking of running an event on the beach, make sure you have 2 speakers, because one's battery always runs out. That was a big lesson we learned in year 1.
We had a very quiet afternoon. Like, could you all come back in, please?
Yeah, quiet afternoon with 0 music. But this year we had 3, so it was. You'd be pleased to know it was vocalized start to finish.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, you gave away that beautiful custom fish as one of the prizes.
Yeah.
Is there quite a big shaping scene down in Cornwall or in the UK? Is there
Yeah,
quite a lot
there
of
is.
backyard shapers?
Absolutely. I think there's, Boss, who's a brand run by a guy called Hugh Brockman, is, in my humble opinion, one of the finest hand shapers in the world. He's, shaped for people like Jeff Bushman over in Hawaii, a couple of some famous South African shapers as well, and really, really knows his craft. He works out of an old farm down in the middle of nowhere next to a pet crematorium, which is interesting. First time I ever went down there actually to get a board off him, I used to drive this huge silver van, and he was like, "Oh, just look for the geotag Penwith Pet Crematorium." I was like, "Sweet, no problem." Bang that in the Google Maps, off we go. And I'm driving through the gate to this pet crematorium, and you get greeted by a very somber-looking bloke. It's like, "I'm so sorry. This must be the horse in the back." And he's like, "No." Yeah, but yeah, he's great. He's got a full factory set up out of an old farm next door to the pet crematorium, shaping bay, glassing bay, and churns out some absolutely top quality boards. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you riding mainly longboards these days, or longboards and fishes?
Kind of all sorts. I actually bought a shortboard this summer. Just a full performance shortboard, funnily enough. Yeah, so I'm just trying to keep.
I would have liked to see some footage of that.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Returns to the beach.
Yeah, exactly. No, just trying to mix it up and keep it fresh. I haven't longboarded at all this winter since I left Cornwall back in November. But yeah, I'm sure I'll get back into it when we get home. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So you say you left England back in November. I believe you went off to Sri Lanka again, which is where I'd met you 4 years ago.
Yeah, I actually went to Los Angeles for 2 months for work. So I work in recruitment basically for a really cool company called Pollen. So I went there with one of my bestest friends and boss, actually, a chap called Tommy, and we had a great time with a couple of our other colleagues, and went to the US offices, and actually went to Vegas as well, which was pretty crazy. It's a really great company to work for. And then went from there to Sri Lanka to work remotely for a little bit, and then came from Sri Lanka to here. So yeah, it's been a busy old winter, actually. Probably too many air miles for the carbon dioxide conscious, but yeah, there we go.
Yeah, and so you were just working in Sri Lanka, and then sort of enjoying your time outside of work to have a surf and catch up with people? Or?
Yeah, I was still working a full 40, probably 50-hour week, but it's actually quite nice with the time zone over there. You sort of get American time really early, and then you get British time a little bit later, so you've got time in the middle of the day to go for a surf and all this kind of thing. Get your admin done. Yeah, it's a cool way to live. It's not. I don't think it's something you could do for like permanently, but for a couple of 3 weeks, it's a really nice break from the norm. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'll go back a little bit as to how you got out to Sri Lanka. I don't know if it's the first time, but when I met you 4 years ago, you're working as a surf coach at Sunshine Stories. Is that what it was called?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I was actually in New Zealand 4 years ago, the first time I came over here, and I saw this job advert for a surf coach job in Sri Lanka, and I was like, "Fuck, that'd be a cool way to spend the winter, wouldn't it? Like, let's have a look at that." And I knew a friend of the owners, and he kind of put me in touch, and yeah, they were like, "Yeah, come over for a season." So ended up going out there and having a really great 6 months. Obviously met some amazing people, made some friends for life. Yeah, that was a really good winter.
Yeah, that was definitely a fun place to be, and it just so relaxed.
Yeah,
for a job for you, it looked like hard work, but
absolutely,
still nice.
Absolutely. No, you can't complain when you go surfing in the tropics every day, can you? It's a wonderful way to live. But it's crazy out there now. Just since I'd been there, that was the second time I'd been. I'd been a few years before as well, but just for a quick holiday. But I've been back every year since, and it's just crazy how much it's like growing, and tourism sort of really hitting there. It's like a bit of a mini Bali kind of escalation, I'd say, in terms of how quickly the development's happening. You wouldn't honestly, you wouldn't recognise some of the places from 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
Wow.
It's insane. Yeah, it's really, really scary.
Yeah, that's cool. And so, had you done a surf coaching course in the UK before? Like, did you just have that as a skill under your belt? Or
Yeah, I'd been lifeguarding and coaching in the UK for like 6 years before that. So I sort of knew my way around it and had the experience, you know.
yeah, is that quite a common thing then? Sort of growing up in the UK, like it's a good job to get as you're going older. You live by the beach. You're like, all right, I'm doing a lifeguard course.
Definitely. Oh, it's a wonderful way to grow up. I think, you know, lifeguarding with the Aunt and I it's a great summer job. It's definitely not something you'd want to do forever. It's pretty poorly managed and run, but it's a wonderful, you know, it really is a wonderful way of life. Work for 5 or 6 months and then go surfing for the other half of the year. It's fantastic.
Yeah, because I guess it just closes down completely over the winter.
Yeah, exactly. It's completely seasonal. Yeah, but you know, who knows? It would be quite a cool thing if it turned into a year-round job for some people like you guys have got over in Aussie. I could certainly see that happening. Just the amount of surfers you've got in Cornwall, particularly these days, people are surfing all year round. There's no reason why it couldn't happen, I suppose.
So with all that time, those sort of 6 months or so in Sri Lanka coaching, you're obviously churning through a lot of different people, probably quite a broad range of skill levels.
Yeah, no, you get all sorts. Everybody from like complete beginners all the way to people like you that forget to mention that they're a semi-professional skateboarder and actually rev.
This is nothing for my surfing ability.
Yeah, no, but you definitely get all sorts. You meet some great people. Like I've worked in a few surf camps. I worked in Nicaragua the year after that, and you meet all sorts of amazing people that become friends. Met some great people in Nicaragua that ended up going and staying within Los Angeles just now. So you make all these crazy connections, and it's really nice to see people kind of in the real world almost after you meet them in the sort of surf camp setting.
Yeah, in their sort of like ultimate holiday relaxation.
Yeah,
paid
exactly.
for this thing, bit of yoga, a bit of surf coaching. Like,
yeah, it's cool to see people in the real world, you know. Yeah, but it's funny. I think you make more like the year after I worked in India and met my dear friend Tommy, who's now my boss, and that he ended up giving me a job based on the fact that we met at a surf camp in India, and now I'm like just about to buy a house. So it's you know it's a crazy world. You meet some phenomenal and amazing people through surfing, and you know just being around these cool spots. I think it tends to attract good people. That's for sure.
Definitely so. And did you find it helped your surfing, having to watch so many people surfing and trying to constantly sort of pick up on techniques? Did it help you analyze things better?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely, particularly in the kind of surf camp setting, like with what you experience, where you're doing this kind of video analysis, kind of the vibe, and you really, you've got a week to spend with people rather than just like a 1-2 hour session at Cornwall's weakest beach break. Sorry, best beach break for Dreevy. So yeah, it definitely really helps. It definitely teaches you about good technique. I'm definitely not a good example of that in real, performing that technique in real life, but it certainly enables you to recognize it and analyze yourself a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I remember you always saying, go deeper, paddle deeper.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, which is ironic because I'm the biggest shoulder hopper going, but it's good advice for sure.
I love it.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's always amazing doing the video analysis when you get to see your surfing and you can start working out what a feeling looks like. You're like, okay,
exactly. Yeah, you've hit that. It's funny when you get that visual link to what something feels like. Often it's you think you're doing the craziest bottom turn or what a craziest maneuver in the world, and then you see it and you're like, oh fuck, that wasn't that crazy at all, was it? But then I guess, you know, sometimes it's the other way around. You think something doesn't look so good, and actually it ends up looking all right.
Yeah.
So there's two sides to that spectrum, but often it's the first.
It's the first watch back of the footage when you're just like, oh no, that's what I look
Fuck,
like.
yeah. Shit, that wave felt massive, and it's like just tied down.
Yeah, I thought I was doing this. I wasn't even turning my board. Oh man.
Yeah, that's tough, but yeah, it's the best thing to get better quickly. That's for sure.
Yeah. So what board is it that you're riding? The shortboard. What's your high performance shortboard choice?
It's just a 5.9 by 19.25 swallowtail. Just, you know, really bog standard shortboard. Like go
5.9 thruster.
Yeah. Just that's it. I got some cool boards off Blake Peters from Panda Surfboards in the States. I got a fish and one of his dolly dagger models. The fish is cool. I got a little bit fat, so it's a little bit too small for me right now. But the dolly dagger is sick. It's like a twin plus trailer with real deep channels and goes really, really fast. That one's sick. And the board I've had all winter is a 6.5. It's called a Widowmaker by Hewitt Boss Surfboards, and it's like a 2+1 kind of thing, like single fin with side bites, kind of like based on an egg thing, and it's just the fucking sickest board I've ever had. I surfed it at like, well, it felt like bloody big Rincon, but it's probably only about 4 foot, and had a whale of a time. And then I took a quick 10 days from Sri Lanka to a place called Banda Aceh in northern Sumatra and surfed a few waves up there, and it was just amazing. Got some of the sweetest little head high barrels I've ever seen in my life. Sweet as in like cute rather than like sweet. But
yeah,
that was a cool little excursion. But yeah, that board's unbelievable. The most versatile, fast, do anything board you could ever want.
Yeah. And do the side bites help like a lot in the entry on steeper waves then? Is that kind of
I think so. I think, you know, single fins at, well, again at Rincon, you know, we see all the guys like Trevor Gordon surfing Ryan Lovelace's boards, and a lot of those those are obviously single fins. You know, that's definitely the right kind of time and place. But in, you know, when you're surfing some slightly more serious waves in Indo, although there's plenty of fine examples of people surfing single fins in those waves very, very well, it's quite nice to have the safety wheels, just for the slightly later drops. So, you know, so it definitely makes a big difference in waves of slightly more consequence, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I'll show you the board I'm riding at the moment, because it's pretty much like on the same thing. This is the only board I ride now, basically.
Oh, sick! Yeah, that's
Cool,
ideal.
5.4 pod mod.
Yeah.
Big 2+1.
Yeah. That's basically what I got with the Panda thing, but with just more of a concave rather than the channels. But that's ideal. Perfect.
It's wild how good it rides.
Yeah, I think twin with a little trailer is the future. Is the way forward for any, you know, for average to normal waves, for people that aren't, you know, professionals, not looking to do first turn air reverses. It's such a nice happy medium, super fun and a little bit skatey, and you know, you don't have to be so critical as you do when you're surfing a 5.9 thruster.
Yeah, so me and the guy I surf with most here, we both now ride 5.4 pod mods with the 2+1 fin setup. We were both riding it with a thruster for a while, like, oh yeah, it's kind of nice. You can get some good turns in on it. And we went back to this fin setup and just like, you can get just as good performance. Like, it just feels so good. Done some such nice turns. And you can just hold, like, it just holds the rail so well in bigger surf. You can just really lay into it.
You still get that really organic twin fin feeling, but it's not, you know, you've got the little, again, you know, the little stabilizer in the middle
stabilizer at the back
to take the edge off it. It's the perfect combination, I'd say.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think I could ride a twin fin anywhere near as well, but with the stabilizer and the slightly performance-y pulled in tail, like, it's just so much fun.
Absolutely.
And they go fast. They paddle they paddle and they go fast. They love a flat section, which is good.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? Just going fast. There's not much point in anything else, for sure.
Turn's not great if you're moving slow.
No, that's the truth. Speak the truth. Top tips here.
Yeah, go deep, stay wide,
go fast. Yeah, don't slow down. That you should be right.
I love it. So, how are you staying sane in quarantine?
Shit, good question. Well, I'm still working full time, or relatively full time. It's obviously quite, I'm still putting in a good 8 to 10 hours a day, but just across funny hours, like waking up early and then staying up quite late to link up with British time. So that's sort of taken up most of it. But I'm with my dearest friends Toddy and Izzy over here. They're looking after me like a strange child. So we're doing all sorts. We're playing cards, and we drank 8 bottles of red wine the other night, which kept us entertained for a good 24 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you just got to keep your mind active, haven't you? Try not zombie and watch TV and sit on Instagram the whole time. Try and do a little bit of reading, listen to some podcasts. I listened to a phenomenal podcast with Russell Brand and what's he called, Wim Hof, the other day. As tragically cliche as that sounds, it's very good, and I think they've both got a lot of good things to say about staying sane at times like this. You just got to try and educate yourself and keep busy. I think it's very stereotypical, and everybody seems to be saying this on Instagram, but it's a very good time to better yourself and put time into the things that you normally don't have time for because of going to the pub and all those normal things, like catch up on reading and educate yourself a little bit. So I think it's definitely important to actually make the most of that time, even if it doesn't happen every day, and most of the time it feels like it's quite difficult.
Yeah, it's definitely a really nice forced break and a forced way to slow down and reassess a few things.
Yeah, definitely, and it definitely, it begs the question, like, what's actually happening? Is Bill Gates trying to vaccinate us all? Like, this is an interesting conspiracy theory. And what does, everybody's talking about this return to normality, but I don't really think normality exists anymore. So what's it gonna, what is the world gonna look like in another 6 months' time? Because it won't look like what it looked like 6 months ago from now, that's for sure.
No, I mean, with the amount of people who have all been told they could never work from home, their job can't be done remotely. And they're they're doing their job remotely, then they're going to be doing it for probably a good 6 months at least. It's going to
absolutely. And if someone said to you, like, even 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, like, global air travel will basically come to a stop, you'd just be like, no, it can't happen. Like, the world would fall to pieces. But I guess it proves that a lot of these, like, essential paradigms that we had in place as a whatever you want to call it, a species, as humanity, are really not that essential at all. Life does go on.
It's wild.
I'm incredibly privileged to still be working and work for a company that have this flexibility anyway, so it's not such a big deal for us. Obviously it's absolutely massive, but I mean, compared to perhaps other companies that aren't as well facilitated to work remotely, but all these, how many people are out of work in the States now? It's like, isn't it 40% of the work of people that were in work are now out of work or something insane? It's ridiculous. Like, what's going to happen? It's unreal. Economic ramifications on a scale that no one can really comprehend.
It's going to be very interesting in like 5 years' time to look back on it and analyze everything and
absolutely
what's gone on.
Yeah, it'll be. I don't think air travel will ever return to. I think we've probably seen the peak of cheap air travel for sure. I don't like. It would be a strange scenario to imagine that it would go back to where it started from, which is quite sad from one aspect, but probably very positive for the environment from the other end. So. Yeah,
for sure. So obviously you're in New Zealand for the foreseeable future. As there's no answer as to when you're going to get to go home at the moment.
No, I mean, like, it is possible, but it's just it's very, very expensive and involves transiting through the States, which just feels like it doesn't feel like a very sensible thing to do at the moment.
I see.
And go home and have to spend upwards of $2,000 on a ticket and then have to transit through LAX and then go home and have the quarantine nights. You know, wouldn't want to go home to my parents' house and
bring that, especially going through LA.
Bring that up on them. So yeah, exactly. So it definitely seems like a very sensible thing to stay put just for the time being. But when some more, I think the biggest issue for most people, anybody on this side of the world, is Singapore and Malaysia shutting down as hubs, and Hong Kong. So all those like key transit points they're just nothing's transiting through them. So once they start to open up, then it will seem like a much more rational decision to get moving and pop back over. Which I will for sure.
So what are the 5 things you're missing about Cornwall right now? Don't cry.
Yeah, that's genuine tears. Well, it's, you know, for one, it's been again a absolutely glorious Easter by all accounts, like easterly offshore winds, and very sunshine and hot. So it would be amazing to go and have a beer at the Red River, which is the best pub in the world, which was just opened with all the boys. So I guess Red River pasties, Cornish pasties, pasty and a can of Coke with my mate Chris would be really nice right now. I'm just about to finish buying a house, which has obviously got slowed down quite considerably by this. I was planning to go home about maybe a week ago and sort of finish that off. So that's quite exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time, just sort of trying to see that through. So it'll be great to go home and actually see the house.
Yeah.
2 more things. Sugar. Surfing at home. It's nothing like surfing at home, as bad as the waves can be. Yeah, it'd be good to see my mum. I guess I think she misses me from time to time.
Yeah, it's good to know that she's made it in at number 5 on the list.
Yeah, she squeaked in there.
So where's the house? Is that in Hale or?
It's in Hale. Yeah. It's about like 5 minutes away from my mum and dad's house. It's tiny. It's just like a tiny little 1-bedroom thing, but it's quite cute. It's got a bit of character, so that's all very exciting.
Oh, wicked! It's definitely. I think if I moved back to the UK, I'd live in Cornwall, especially now after living where I live. I'd find everything else too busy.
Yeah, and you couldn't go from living so close to the beach to living back in the city. You know, it's definitely nice to have a bit of balance. Last summer I was going up to London for work and then back home for a week and doing like a week on, week off, and now I really enjoy that and the variety and keep things exciting. But I think I'm very much drawn to living by the sea. 4 days in the city gets a little bit too stressful.
Yeah, for sure. You need to get in it daily.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So we'll wrap it up in a minute. But I mean, what's next for you? Are you pretty settled on just you'll buy your house, keep running Smooth Movers?
Yeah, good question. I think get home, sort this house out. Keep working hard. We're in a really cool position as a company, doing some cool things. So keep on with that. We got some pretty cool plans for Smooth Movers this year. What transpires from them, based on how quickly this all blows over, who's to say? But we'll definitely do something in Memoriam, and keep scaling the event and seeing what we can, seeing where we can take it. I guess would be is the thing. But I think just stay open to change, keep having fun. Don't stay still for too long. It's all it's got to embrace it all and have a good time. I think
Yeah, for sure. And where can people find Smooth Movers?
You can find us on Instagram at Smooth Movers Surf, and on the internet smoothmovers.co. That's .co. It's a trendy website address, which causes a lot more grief than it does trend, because everyone's like, "Do you mean .co.uk or .com?" I'm like, no, I don't. No,
just .co.
Just .co. Yeah, just to clarify that. There we go.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Be sure to check out Smooth Movers online, and you can find me at Skateboard Surf North on Instagram. Till next time.